minutes for staff presentations and 20 minutes for the applicant, plus questions by the commissioners. When we move to public comment, I will call on those who are in the council chambers first, followed by those who are joining us virtually. We do have a timer to keep our meeting on track and expect public comments to be no longer than 2 minutes when speaking as an individual, or up to 5 minutes when representing a community association or a larger group. In all instances, please limit the repetitive comments. Hopefully this isn't going to be the case today, but an item to note is item 4 on the other matters of your docket. If we are going to extend our meeting past 1 o'clock, I will announce by 11 our intention whether we will take a lunch break or not. If it goes past 1, we have to take a 30-minute lunch break. So hopefully that is not the case today. Just making sure to continue to remind everybody that the city is updating the comprehensive plan. In fact, we have one of our docketed items today to talk about that, but we're getting close to the end of it. In fact, let's see, we're going to have a public hearing, I think, the second meeting of January to talk solely about the comprehensive plan. As we get started with our meeting, I ask staff to provide some ground rules and instructions as we conduct this meeting, just to make sure that we have minimal disruption and maximum clarity. So Joe, if you can remind us of those rules, I'd sure appreciate it.
All right, I'll also be brief because I think everyone online has.
Your microphone's off. There you go.
I think everyone online has participated online before, so I'll be brief. Basically, there are 2 categories of participants: attendees and panelists. Panelists are staff and the City Planning Commission right now. If you are an attendee and your case is called, please go ahead and raise your hand and we'll promote you over to a panelist position. You do have to accept the promotion in order to be moved over to a panelist position. Once you're over there, you'll be able to share your audio and video. And then the other thing to mention is the chat feature in Zoom is intended to be used for questions about placement on the agenda, as well as technical questions. It's not to be used for testimony on the merits of any project. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and begin today's meeting, starting with the consent agenda items. And it looks like we have one that will be continued to a future date.
That's right. We have 2 actually. Do you want me to read those first?
Yes, please.
Okay. Docket item C1, case number CPC 2022-00138, a request to approve an 11,500 capacity soccer stadium for the Kansas City Current at Berkeley Riverfront in District MPD. The applicant is requesting continuance without fee to January 3rd. And the second continuance is docket item C5, case number CPC 2022-00199. Request to approve a final plan in District MPD for Cultivate KC at Westport Middle School, which is located at East 38th Street and Warwick Boulevard. The applicant is requesting continuance off docket and staff recommends without fee.
Okay. Any questions from the commissioners regarding continuance of docket items C1 or C5? Ashley, okay. So let's go ahead and open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item C1 or C5 and the continuance of those 2 items, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature.
Mr. Chair, there's no one in the chamber wishing to speak and no one on Zoom has raised their hand.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close public testimony then, and I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Corral, I move to continue docket item C1 to January 3rd without fee, and to continue docket item C5 off docket without fee.
Second.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second for continuance of C1 and C5. Lisa, can you take roll call on that motion, please? Note there's 4 of us here today.
Yep. Commissioner Corral,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski. Aye.
Okay, looks like the motion passes then. All right, let's go ahead and open up the remaining consent agenda items, please.
Docket item C2, case number CPC 2022-00195. Request to approve a final plan in District MPD at the southwest corner of East Bannister Road and Hillcrest Road within the Pioneer Plaza Shopping Center to allow for a dentist office. Staff is recommending approval with conditions. Docket item C3, case number CPC 2022-00189, a request to approve a final plan in District MPD to construct a drive-through restaurant at 9700 North Oak Traffic Way. And docket item C4, case number CPC 2022-00139, request to approve a project plan in District R 1.5 to allow construction of a 23-unit multi-unit residential building at 4931 Walnut. And this one, staff is also recommending approval with conditions. And that
Okay,
concludes
thank you.
consent.
Any questions from the commissioners regarding docket items C2, C3, or C4? Okay, let's go ahead and open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket items C2, C3, or C4, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
Mr. Chair, there's no one in the chamber wishing to speak and no one on Zoom has raised their hand.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and close public testimony then, and I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Crowley, move to approve docket items C2, C3, and C4 with conditions as stated in the docket.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second for approval of docket items C2, 3, and 4 with conditions stated. Lisa, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Commissioner Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski. Aye.
Okay, looks like the motion passes in 4-0. Good luck with those projects. Now let's move to our regular agenda items then, beginning with those cases that are looking to be continued to a future date.
All right, the first continuance we have is docket item 1, which is 3 companion cases, starting with case number CPC 2022-00153, amending the Plaza Bowl overlay, which was created by committee substitute for ordinance number 190100, which includes use and height regulations for the area generally located on the south and north sides of West 47th Street between Madison Avenue on the west and J.C. Nichols Parkway on the east, to establish standards for granting deviations. Docket item 1.2, case number CPC 2022-00210, a request to amend chapter 88, the zoning and development code as it pertains to section 88-517, which are development plans, to provide decision-making criteria for city council when considering approval of development plans or deviations concurrent with development plans. In this one, staff is recommending continuance without fee, continuance off docket without fee. And docket item 1.3, case number CPC 2022-00211, to amend the Main Street overlay adopted by ordinance 171037 on January 28th, 2018, to provide the option of obtaining relief from the lot and building standards of the overlay through the development plan approval process or the urban redevelopment or master plan development processes subject to decision-making criteria. In all 3 of these cases, staff is requesting continuance off docket without fee. In the case of the first one, that request came from the council sponsors. And since the other 2 are companion, staff is requesting that those be continued off docket as well. Next continuance is docket item number 4, case number SUP 2022-00049, a request to approve a latex printing business in District B4-5 on about 2/10 of an acre at the northwest corner of Wabash and Truman Road. The applicant is requesting continuance to January 3rd, and staff recommends without fee. Docket item 5, case number CPC 2022-00186, amending chapter 88, the zoning and development code, by enacting a new section to be known as section 88-424, tree preservation and protection, and amending 88-810 by adding and inserting definitions applicable to this new code section. In this one, the proponents are asking for a continuance to February 7th without fee. And docket item 6, case number SUP 2022-00048, a request to approve a special use permit for gasoline and fuel sales in District B3-2 on about 1 acre at 53rd and Prospect. In this one, the applicant is requesting continuance to February 7th, and staff recommends without fee. And that's all the continuances.
Okay, any questions from the commissioners regarding continuance of docket items 1, 4, 5, and 6,
On that last one, it's February 3rd or 7th.
7.
It's the 7th. We
Okay,
got
so
the
the
date wrong.
Gotcha.
Yep, both the 5 and
Makes
6 should
sense.
be the 7th. Okay. Yes, so at this time, I'll go ahead and open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that'd like to speak regarding continuance of docket items 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 4, 5, or 6, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature. Come on ahead.
I'm not sure which number it was. The special use permit at 53rd and Prospect item. Is that only pushed over as a continuance, or do we have to come back and speak on this February date now about this issue?
Yeah, that one looks to be continued to February 7th.
And
That's-
so you're not taking any public comment about that issue this time?
Not on the merits of the case. I can talk about the continuance of the docket item, but not the case itself.
Just checking to see when we should come back.
Yep,
all right.
February 7th.
And the planner, Andy Clark, is right there. So if you have additional, the
Okay.
planner is sitting right here. His name is Andy. He can answer additional questions you might have.
Okay, anybody else, Joe, from the public like to speak?
That was the only person in the chamber and no one online is raising their hand.
Okay, so at this time, we'll go ahead and close public testimony and I'll take a motion, please, for continuance of those cases.
Chair Corral, I move to continue docket items 1.3, 1.2, 1.3, and docket item 4 as stated in the docket, and docket items 5 and 6, both without fee, to February 7th.
Okay, so 1.1, you said 1.3 twice.
Sorry, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and docket item number 4 as stated in the docket, and docket items 5 and 6 to February 7th without fee.
Okay, yeah, and just make sure 1, 2, 1.1, 2, and 3 are off docket. Okay. Second. So I've got a motion and a second for continuance of docket items 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 off docket. Docket item 4 to January 3rd and docket items 5 and 6 to February 7th, 2023. Lisa, can you take roll call, please, on that motion?
Commissioner Crowell,
Aye.
Anders,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Okay, it looks like the motion passes in for the continuance of those cases. All right, so that brings us to docket item number 2, please.
All right, docket item 2 is case number MISC 2022-00001, the Casey Spirit Playbook. Receiving from Long Range Planning and Development staff a memo in reference to objectives that have been released thus far and responding to any questions that the commission might have or feedback the commission might have. In this case, it looks like it will be Gerald Williams that will be representing the Long Range Planning Division today.
Morning.
Good morning. Gerald Williams, Long Range Planning Division. Also project manager on the comprehensive plan update. I don't have a presentation for you this morning. This is just our regular agenda item as kind of a reminder about the objectives we have out there and an update for you all. I think the agenda said we had 7 objectives. We have 12 objectives out there for your review of the 21 total. The other nine should be coming to you shortly. We're working through an internal review process and we're absent a director at the moment. So we are working through that. It should have those out soon. So
Before the end of the year,
we
or
have to have them out soon because we're coming back to you on the 17th of January to talk about them, and we need for you all to have time to have reviewed them. So
correct?
yeah, so we're shooting for the end of the year. We were shooting for the end of the week, but with Mr. Williams gone, that's become more uncertain. So yeah, I'm happy to take any questions or comments if you have any.
Okay, and commissioners have any questions regarding the KC Spirit Playbook at this time?
I had some comments.
Go ahead.
Okay. So a few things. I think the business attraction section, I'd like to see that speak a little bit more to the climate resiliency piece in the way that the new frontier around economic development and business attraction is going to be about how we can show that we can meet ESG goals. And a lot of businesses are looking for that as part of their attraction strategy. So I think just having a line in there that harkens to that would be important. The other piece around the climate, the environmental health and resiliency piece, I think just a piece that I saw that was missing in there was the mention of resiliency hubs or opportunities for on-site solar for communities in need. Just that's one of the pieces that was in the climate plan that I think should carry over into the comprehensive plan. And I wasn't sure if the community supported actions under that were directly drawn from the climate plan or if that is unique to the comprehensive plan. I don't know if you could clarify that.
The coordination and collaboration with the resiliency plan is close. I wouldn't say that all of those CSAs came directly from the climate plan.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the list to see where maybe some of the other ones came. Some of it was probably from community input and other things like that as well. So.
Okay. I mean, at first glance, it seemed like it coordinated pretty well, but I wasn't sure if it was just kind of a copy and paste between those two or if they were slightly different. And then I think the movement of goods section where it talks about coordinating truck routes and traffic and movement of goods, I think one thing I'd like to see there is some coordination in terms of where those routes are relative to communities, because we've seen a lot of cases come before us that bring up concern about truck traffic in residential neighborhoods. And I think there should be some recognition that we need to avoid those environmental injustices that we've seen before historically in terms of air quality and noise, etc.
Can strengthen that for sure. That's great.
Yeah. And then, yeah, one of the other pieces, the access to jobs, I think that's another place where we've struggled on some cases where we've had some major industrial projects come in, all very exciting, but then there's sort of an afterthought when it comes to transit connection. And that may just be how it's presented to us and who's in the room at that time. But I think just being able to coordinate with whether it's KCATA, Mark, et cetera, on transit and have that conversation flow through every project that we see, so we can see some kind of transit strategy has been considered as part of the project that we see before us. And I think that's it. Otherwise, I think, there's a lot of good things in here that I definitely support. So I just wanted to clarify a few things that I thought were missing.
Those are great suggestions. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments from commissioners? Okay. Anything else?
That's all for us.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you for your time and putting this together and hearing our questions. Looking forward to January 17th.
Us too.
Okay. Let's go ahead then with docket item number 3, please.
All right, docket item number 3 is case number ROW 2022-00004. A request to approve a vacation of 7 feet of right of way containing about 0.02 acres located south of 100 East 20th Street. Jared Clements, who I believe is online, will be our staff planner. And I know the agenda says denial. We have a different recommendation now.
Thanks, Joe. Good morning, commissioners. Before us, we have docket item number 3, case number CDROW 2022-4. The location is approximately 100 East 20th Street. The zoning district is DX 15. The applicant in this case is seeking approval of a vacation of unimproved right-of-way. This is the location of the subject site. It's within the boundaries of the greater downtown area plan.
We can't see your presentation, Jared.
So sorry. 1 second here. All right. This is the first slide that I skipped. And this is the location of the subject site. It's within the greater downtown area plan. It's in the Crossroads area. More specifically, it's just north of East 20th Street on the western half of the block between Walnut Street and Grand Boulevard. It is the grassy area just south of the property highlighted in yellow there. This is the site plan submitted by the applicant. As originally proposed and as reflected on the docket, staff could not recommend approval of this application because it included the area to the west there and disrupted pedestrian connectivity. The applicant team did work with staff to provide revisions, which have excluded the area in red from the subject site. Staff believes that this proposed vacation area is in compliance with the standards laid out in section 88-540 of the Zoning and Development Code. As such, staff recommends approval subject to conditions. There's 2 staff report conditions relating to easements or relocation for AT&T, as well as street lighting facilities for Public Works. And staff requests an additional condition that the applicant team submit a revised exhibit and legal description of the area to be vacated based on those revisions prior to ordinance request. With that, I'll conclude my presentation.
All right, thank you. You've answered my question by adding the 3rd condition. Any other questions from the commissioners? Okay, so at this time, we'll go ahead and open it up. Oh, so let's have the applicant then join us.
I've promoted David Eichmann and Vince Bryant.
Good morning.
Good morning. See if Vince gets on too. There you are.
Good morning.
Yep, you can state your names and addresses for the record. That'd be great.
Yeah, David Eichmann with Olson, 1300 North Burlington Street, North Kansas City, Missouri.
Vince Bryant with 3D Development, 2100 Central, Suite 41, Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay, anything to add from the staff report?
If I could share my screen, I might just present what we've got going on there and the reason we're asking for the vacation before you take a vote. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
This is kind of a before picture as we were taking the property over. Basically, you can see the strip of grass between the building and the sidewalk. That is the area that we're requesting be vacated. Predominantly, this was built as an Anheuser-Busch distributor center and office, as well as the building north of it on the same half block. What we are requesting to do is, you can see there's no main entry off of 20th Street. It's just kind of this added store frontage, and the storefront's not original. It used to be back further to a brick portion of the building. What we're planning to do is to create a main entry off of 20th Street. And you can see the dotted line extend these porches to create more of a street front presence along 20th Street with these updated images. We have a spa collective going on the right side or the east side, and we expect a coffee cafe. The reason for those porches here to the south side, to the west side. But the main reason is to bring a walkway in from 20th Street, which is about 5 feet below the surface of the main floor level of the building grade. So a stair and an elevator will get you up to grade, handicap accessibility, et cetera.
Okay. Any questions from the commissioners to the applicant? Okay, thank you. So at this time, let's go ahead and open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 3, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature.
Mr. Chair, there's no one in the chamber and no one on Zoom has raised their hand.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close public testimony. Anything else to add, applicants?
No, I think we understand staff's recommendation to eliminate the portion in red and agree with it.
Okay, thank you. So if there's no questions from the commissioners, so I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Crowell, I move to approve docket item number 3 with conditions and the addition of a condition as shown in the staff report requesting new drawings showing that the west portion of the right-of-way vacation is being removed.
I've got a
Second.
motion and a very soft second. I think it's because he didn't hit the microphone. So Lisa, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Yes. And I see Commissioner Baker. Did you hear all of the case?
I showed up late.
Okay, gotcha. Commissioner Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, looks like the motion passes then 4-0. Appreciate you bringing it in, and it looks like a nice little addition to the building. So thank you and good luck.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
All right. Moving right along here, Joe. We might have a record day, so let's get to docket item number 7, please.
All right, docket item 7 is case number CPC 2022-00200. Amending chapter 88, the zoning and development code through revisions, clarifications, and other administrative changes throughout the chapter in accordance with the zoning and development code periodic review. I'm the planner on this one, so I'll present to you. There's just 3 simple amendments that we need to get taken care of. Bear with me just a moment while I share my screen. All right. The summary is contained really on the first page. We're proposing to amend the ADU ordinance that just passed, and the reason for that is we left out maximum building height. I do believe it was discussed that it would be 25 feet, but for whatever reason, it did not make it into the actual text of the ordinance. So we're adding that clarification because we do have people trying to obtain permits for the ADUs, and we need that maximum height in the code to apply to projects. The next one, and I'm sorry, let me clarify. I believe it's 25 feet or the height of the house, whichever is less.
Correct.
So it can't be taller than the principal building, just by virtue of it being an accessory building. And then the next one pertains to our animal services use standards. So these are stables, vet clinics, and things similar to that. There is a separation requirement, which is probably a good requirement to have. However, it states that the use itself must be separated, must be at least 200 feet from a property line. And I think the assumption in the current text is that all property lines are private property lines, but in reality, some are right-of-way lines. And so there is a particular property with a owner who's been very patient with the city on trying to reestablish an animal services use. It was existing at one time. It was discontinued for a period of time, and they're not eligible for a certificate of legal non-conforming use because of that, because of how long it was discontinued. And it's adjacent to Missouri Highway 150, which has significant right-of-way width. So this amendment would just clarify that if the property line is right-of-way and the right-of-way is at least 100 feet wide, then that standard would not apply. And then the next one pertains to temporary uses. There have been a number of changes in other departments at the city in terms of how events are managed. And so this proposed amendment would take that into account. There's also a third-party group called, I'm going to mispronounce it, Eve Energy or something similar to that, that helps facilitate that for the customers if they need permits and licenses from regulated industries and the health department and a temporary use permit from us. They help coordinate that for the customer. And what we found based upon it in part on their feedback is that a lot of the temporary use permit requirements are redundant. In many cases, the things that we're looking at are already being looked at by other departments. So we want to clean up that ordinance to clarify that it really only needs to apply to non-resident or to residentially zoned areas. We have a lot of temporary use permits, for example, at Union Station and Crown Center, and the public and those property owners, they know how to host events. There's not really anything that we're adding any value to it. We're just adding a step in the process. So the ordinance would do that, would clarify that in those locations that are typical for public events or semi-public spaces or public spaces, no temporary use permit is required, and it would only be required in certain residential zones. There's also a clarification in terms of if the event or use is the length of time that it's permitted. We have a lot of successive applications for temporary use permits because they're currently limited in time frame. So those typically apply to our seasonal fruit stands, for example. Right now, we can only do 45 days, and that doesn't usually get them through a season. And so we would be lengthening that period of time. And then finally, the current ordinance is silent altogether with regard to what we're supposed to look for on a temporary use permit. So we are proposing new standards that regulate primarily the placement of where these temporary uses or events are, and that when it's removed, the property is restored to its original condition. And also clarifying that in many cases when tents are installed, there is permits and review required by fire department as well as building code requirements. So just clarifying that that might also be necessary. And that is a summary of the changes we're proposing, and I can try to answer any questions you have.
Okay. Any questions from the commission regarding the text amendments?
I had a quick one, Joe, on the standards. Can you go back down? Is there a way to well, one, are there requirements for accessibility for these kind of temporary uses? Because I see there's the building codes, there's unsafe pedestrians. I just didn't know if there's any sort of consideration for general accommodations for accessibility.
My understanding from speaking with our building code staff is that in general, it depends on the type of use proposed and the duration. And so the ADA requirements do get triggered with a building code review. So they assured us that if a building code review would basically typically be required when the ADA stuff is triggered, as well as if it's a large tent and just making sure it's sturdy.
Okay, so basically this kind of goes into the same bucket as they already do that, so we don't really need to talk about it. Okay,
that's right.
Thank you.
I have a question as well on the third one. You mentioned that there were redundancies. Just curious, what are the departments that are already capturing a lot of, the necessary needs and standards, et cetera?
So the Public Works Department deals with anything in public right of way. The current ordinance doesn't clearly state that we exempt temporary use permits from public right of way, but that has been a matter of practice, but it's a routine question that comes up. So that's one thing we wanted to clarify. Regulated Industries is the primary agency that's doing all sorts of review, as is the health department if there's food involved in the event. And then I do believe Eve Energy incorporates police and fire as needed, depending upon the nature of the event.
So you gave the examples of the really well orchestrated events, like at a Union Station, for example. If I see like a pop-up retail vendor on a busy intersection, is that usually something that someone that has gone through this type of process, or is that usually an unsanctioned operator?
That's someone who should go through the current process and should go through the proposed process. And we're trying to make this a little bit easier for those folks to apply. So you're talking about someone like, who's selling something right at the roadside or in a parking lot. That's something that we see as continuing to require a temporary use permit because we want to make sure they're in a safe location within the parking lot, for example. And So this would change it from a temporary use review to simply a registration with acknowledgement that they understand the standards and agree to comply with them. So it'd make it a little simpler for them to turn it over, because these people typically need their use permit that day or within a day or two.
Great. Yeah, quick comment. Having pulled or done an event, I was surprised at how much regulated industries required of us. And so I love that we're reducing duplicate requests. And then on the permanent side, in terms of going through regulated industries for things, they often require things that the health department has already required and things that city planning has already required. And I think that understandably, there's less interest on their end from lessening what they ask for. And so it's nice to see city planning do the opposite and find ways that city planning can ask for less when you have faith that another department's already asking for it.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the commission? All right, so at this time, let's go ahead and open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 7, seeing that the chambers is empty, I doubt there's anybody here. But if you're online, please raise your hand and you'll be called upon.
Mr. Chair, there's one person online that I'm promoting right now. His name is Greg Hobson.
Okay.
Okay, did I hit the right button that time?
Yep, you got it. Please state your name and address for the record.
Greg Hobson, 937 State Route J Highway, Peculiar, Missouri, 64078.
All right. Yes, sir.
I'm just here if anybody had any questions for me about the K9 facility or my intent or anything like that. I don't have anything really to add.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think anybody had any from our standpoint.
All right, then I'll hit the leave button and let you all go.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Anybody else, Joe?
That's it, Mr.
Okay. So at this time, we'll go ahead and close public testimony. If there's nothing else to add, I'll take a motion, please.
One more comment on ADUs. I think bullet point or subparagraph F, I think there's just a small typo. I don't know if we want to address it or not. The total footprint area of all detached accessory buildings and structures may, I think it should just be cover, or the area that they may cover shall not exceed instead of coverage.
Sorry, let me.
I don't think it changes the way it's read at all. So not important at all. Just thought I'd point it out.
No, we appreciate that. Yes, you're right. We can change that.
Otherwise, though, I'll go ahead and move to approve docket item number 7 without conditions, but with that small text change.
Okay. So I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 7 with a small change in as stated. Lisa, can you take roll call on the motion, please?
Mhm. Commissioner Baker,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, looks like the motion's been approved 5-0. So with that, that's our last docketed item. Anything else to bring before the commission?
Staff doesn't have anything.
Okay. Well, I hope everybody enjoys the holidays and this nice weather that's coming before us here later this week. And we will see you then on January 3rd. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Same to you.
Take care, everybody. Have a nice, beautiful holiday.
Bye.